All right, so now it's time to master. And I've actually taken a little bit of time off from creating this music production course, and Logic has had a couple of updates, which is actually going to be really helpful for us as I've been using those to master or just overall help myself produce music in Logic since then. So one thing, and I think the biggest thing here, is earlier in the course I said that we were not able to make a track stack within a track stack, but now that is possible, and I'm actually going to take advantage of that for our mastering. So I have the whole entire track here, and I love where it's at so far, but one thing that I'm going to do right now is just organize our drums. It's not really going to affect the audio yet, but what it is going to do is just make this a lot less cluttered. So I'm going to highlight all of these. So let's see, I believe these are all my drums, and then I'm just going to create a track stack, excuse me. Summing stack, and these will be called drums. So now if I zoom out, I have a lot more screen real estate. One other thing that I'm going to do that I've been incorporating recently is actually using the bit crusher as a soft clipper in order to get my bigger sections here, like I have, even squash more than it already is. That's going to help. The whole point of mastering, which you'll see in just a moment, is to get our track completely finished, completely polished, and at a competitive volume. And what I'm about to do is going to help us accomplish that. So you don't really need to know much about how waves combine, but audio waves are additive. So if you have one wave and then you add on another wave, it'll get louder. So what I'm going to do is, before our sidechain compressor, I should say, is I'm going to add a bit crusher. And I'm going to solo off all of these parts. So right now I have the lead melody. And I can see that I'm peaking around negative 10.9. I can keep playing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down all the way, and we're not really going to notice anything because this is bringing this down negative 10, which is the max, and it's kind of clipping there already. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the drive up as much as I can until I notice a difference. If I don't notice a difference at all, then in my mind, I'm not really affecting the sound. I'm just squishing it so it's not as loud according to the meters in the computer. And then I'm going to readjust that. So I'm going to keep the volume the exact same, but I'm just going to make this overall digitally quieter. So I just added 3 here, and I'm going to subtract 3 on the actual track stack. And then I'm going to undo that to see if I notice any difference. I hit Alt or Option and click to get that back to 0. So turn that on. If I go back down to negative 3. We can now see that I'm clipping at or peaking at negative 13, which I was earlier at negative 10. And you might be wondering, is this worth the effort? The answer is maybe not, but doing this for all of our tracks, that makes sense. Some of them, any sort of distortion will mess it up, but doing it for all of our tracks will help us just get a lot more room once we're pushing it to competitive volumes. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, an easier way to do this would be to put a gain right after the bit crusher. So if I have a gain at -3, and then turn them off, just put them here. Maybe I'll try -2. I feel like I'm noticing something a tad, but we'll just see. So turn that to -2, turn that to 2. All right, I think that's fine for that. And then I believe these are based on the same thing. So let's just copy that and see if we like it. So bring the compressor down and then bring this over here. All right, I don't notice much of a difference, which is the goal. All right, intro synths. I might not do this for the intro synths. Let's see if I need to. Let's try it with it on, and then, oh, I'm gonna turn these on too. Let's try it with that on. So if I do this, so this is not making a difference because this is not reaching up to that volume. And what I find is if you use the bit crusher with filtered stuff, it really, you can start to notice the distortion there. And I'm not trying to get any distortion out of this, so I'm actually going to avoid that here because I don't think I need it. And then probably the piano and choir, I won't need that distortion as well because this is during a quieter part of the track. And the way to test that is to add the bit crusher, and I will add the gain as well, and get it to the point where it's actually doing something. So that we're going to do that with a combination of bringing this all the way down, so it'd be -10, and this was peaking at -22.2. So let's say I go to say I go to 13, let's say 14 boost. So this is a 24 decibel difference. So I'm going to turn this down by 24. I'll just type it in, -24. And let's see what that sounds like. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm starting to hear a little distortion, so I'm not going to do it for that. I find like this works for the heavier stuff, like the lead intro that we did. I think that's good for. And then drop background. Anything during the drop we want squashed, so let's see.
Hey, 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 hey.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to do this for the drop background. And I know a lot of the stuff is already squashed. You can see I have a bit crusher here, and then bit crusher and a space designer here. And then here I don't have, so the problem is after I squash it, I'm adding echo and reverb to this stuff. So that's adding more volume. And then same thing here. So if I add a bit crusher here, so let's do this. And by the way, I'm saying bit crusher, like I've mentioned 100 times, I mostly use the bit crusher as a clipper, not a sample reducer. So let's see here where we're peaking.
Hey, 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 hey.
So it's really this hey. So if I do it without the hey, let's see. So -19 point something. So I actually am not really sure why I put this hey with the drop background. I might take this out for now, and I might add it to, I'll keep it out for now. Because did I give it its own? All right, so it would need a sidechain compressor. If I just put it in something else, I'll deal with that in a moment. But let's say I just have this. So that's -19.5. So what I will do is I will bring this down to -10. And then if I put this +10, that's a net gain of 20 decibels. So I will add my gain after the fact. And I'll do -20. And I want to do -22 because I want to actually get a net reduction. So I'm going to boost this to 12. So now it's 22 decibels that I'm reducing it. So if I move this out of the way, let's see if I can A/B this and see if there's any difference. All right, my math was wrong there. So since I'm moving this, let's just ignore this clip level. Let's keep this at 0. So I'm going to get this to 22. There we go. All right, this is what I meant to do. I'm sorry about that. So by doing this, I would have had to have the gain be adjusted, but I don't want to do that. Just this makes the math easier. So let's try that again. So this is what it sounds like with the clipping and then the reduction. All right, I don't notice a difference at all, which is good. I'm going to see if I can push that a little bit more. So let's go to 25. I'm just going to type it. So let's see. All right, so right there we just saved like 5 decibels of headroom for not really giving much up. I'm sure that if we like really listened as closely and pretty loudly, we might be able to notice a few things. But since this is the background for the drop, it's not going to make a big difference. All right, we will get back to this Hey. Doing it on a sub bass is typically a bad idea. I almost never process my sub bass except for a sidechain compressor for the kick to come in. And then drop vocals, let's do that. So, sorry, let me solo that. All right, for drop vocals, so the problem is since I'm filtering it, like I said earlier, since I've filtered it, it might not be the best idea to do too much distortion, but let's just see. We were down to -12. So if I do that, oh, whoops, I'll put this here, and then I'll put some gain. It's not really going to affect anything. All right, let's see what we can do. So I'll boost this up to maybe, since it's peaking at 12 and or -12.5, I'll boost this up to, let's try 15, and then I'll do this to -15. This is strange. It's clipping at the same thing. It's not being sent anywhere. This is odd. Let me try to squash it, see if it affects anything. Yeah, this is throwing me off. I don't know why that's affected by that, but let's see. It gets... Is the compression doing anything? Makeup is 0. I don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. But you can hear this being squashed. And let's try it at -3. All right, so I'm gonna not do this since it's filtered because I'm noticing a difference. Sorry about that. And then these vocals, I think I'm gonna leave them. Okay. Those we won't need to do that. All right, so then these little one-hit vocals right here, the Tyson Improv, which is this.
Come on.
And then Ooh Yeah.
Ooh yeah.
And then I think we're fine there. Noise and risers, this is something that we could do this for. So at certain points, so I'm going to try it. So do a bit crusher. And then we will do this has the boomers too. So let's see if this is worth it. All right, I'm boosting that to see if we can get anything. All right, yeah, that's super distorted. So let's go backwards from there. One issue here is that we're distorting stuff that is being echoed out and reverberated. So that's gonna really intensify that sound. All right, I'm gonna do a gain here with -4 because that's what I've added. I've added 4, but I'm clipping down here at 10. All right, I'm gonna leave that there. Once again, I don't think this is making a huge deal. I'm not even gonna bother with the laser echo or these other effects. I have the Tim Hay. Main bass filter. Probably not going to do. Fat screech filter. That is, oh, whoops. That's here. I'm probably going to leave that because that's going to be isolated, and we're probably going to manipulate the volume at the very end. You'll see what I mean. Main bass and other bass. I am going to do that. Oh, no, I've already done that. So that's already done. And yeah, I mean, these basses sound super fat, so probably doesn't need to happen. All right, so normally I would make my track stacks within track stacks and then do that. But since we've kind of gone away from that, I don't have to do that anymore for this one, but I am happy that I changed the drums just because we have a lot of drum tracks and we might be making duplicates depending on how our master sounds. So anyway, now we can finally actually get to mastering like I promised we would at the end of the last video.